Okay, welcome to BLK Creative Filings free live web class. Today we're doing things to know about New York City Food Protection Certificate and other programs. My name is Jacqueline McIntosh. I'm going to share my screen real quick. This will let me do it. All right. So again, this is things to know about the New York City Food Protection Certificate, and then also we're going to do a brief overview of some other permits you should know. My name is Jackie McIntosh. I'm an attorney here in New York. I've been an attorney here for 6 years. I'm the owner of BLK Creative Filings. I graduated from Michigan State University College of Law in 2013. I've pretty much been a business owner since 2005, but if you have like my mother tell it, I was like a business owner at age 6, selling like Kool-Aid off my step. So, so I'm really into small business. I am from Jamaica, Queens originally, and I'm a huge Nets, and Giants fan. I'm really excited to get back to Citi Field whenever we're allowed to. So again, this presentation is really geared towards people who are trying to maybe sell home-based food in New York. I know we have different food markets coming up. We have people who are going to be doing maybe food trucks, food, anything like flea markets. And a lot of times you need a certain type of certifications or permits. And if you don't get it or you don't get it enough time, you may be SOL. So this is just a brief overview. It's just to give you a basic idea and then for you to take this information and move forward. Also later on, after presentation, we're going to have some representatives from R.O.A.R, and they're going to go over more in depth about the food certificate or protection certificate and more about their services because it's actually a really big need, especially if you're trying to get those permits right and you're trying to make sure you do it legit. Because what you don't want to happen is you get shut down because you didn't do it correctly. So, generally in New York, to sell food, you must have a number of permits and certificates, such as the food service establishment permit, the temporary food service establishment permit, and the food protection certificate. There is an exception to the rule if you are making certain goods at home, like baked goods that don't have to be refrigerated, jellies, snacks, mixes. A really good example would be like popcorn. Sometimes you don't have to get these certifications. However, you have to be selling at like a farm market or a farm stand or a fair. But it really changes from locality, from my understanding. But it's just something you want to keep in mind. But if it were me, I'd probably just get the right certifications just so you don't have to run into this problem. So this is a very, very general overview on how to get the food service establishment permit. Very, very general. Generally speaking, you need to do an application and you have to do it 21 days prior to opening. But you're also with that application, you're going to you need to make sure you get an inspection. If you don't do the application and you open, you're going to get shut down. Very simple. You need to obtain a New York State Certificate of Authority, and you get that from the tax department. It's not difficult to get. You just literally fill out an application, and I think it comes pretty quickly. You also can get a temporary one, but you want to make sure you have that Certificate of Authority. Third, you want to get the food protection certificate. It doesn't have to be everyone who's selling food or cooking food in your establishment, but it definitely needs to be the supervisor, the manager, someone of some type of authority. And then, from my understanding, it's a $280 fee. There's also something called the temporary food establishment permit, and this is generally like for a particular event, and it really has to meet a very narrow. Sorry, it has to meet a very narrow circumstance. So it's pretty much for a single event that that occurs within 14 days. like it can be a continuous event, but it can't be longer than 14 days. They can't happen like more than 3 times per week. Um, and it's really particular, but it's easier to get. So this is more like if you're gonna do one event, or you're gonna do like maybe you're gonna do like a festival. You can get this, but it's not something that you can maintain. It's not a permanent thing. If you're looking to do it as an ongoing um, business, you're gonna have to get the permanent permit. Again, sorry, I should say temporary. You should complete the temporary food establishment permit, obtain the New York State Certificate of Authority, get a food protection certificate, and pay the $70 fee. All right. So the food protection certificate is what we're talking about. Generally speaking, if you are doing a food establishment or you're selling food, someone has to have the certificate, who is a manager or a supervisor or something of that nature. Generally speaking, you take a course. Um, you take the course online or through a service, and you take an exam. The exam is $24. So now we're going to talk to Michelle and Charles from R.O.A.R, and just to go into more details about their organization and just things that we need to know. So, make sure. So, Michelle, are you there?
I am here.
All right.
Hi. Just waiting to see you.
All right.
So thank you. So I am one of the 4 partners with R.O.A.R. R.O.A.R is a food consulting firm, along with my counterpart, Charles, who's also here today. And we're going to just briefly talk about the importance of obvious food safety and running an operation as safe as possible to avoid a number of the pitfalls that Jackie kind of mentioned. If you fail to have your locations permitted properly, it can result in some pretty steep fines and also possible closures. And we all understand that that's not something that anyone obviously wants to happen when they're trying to run a business. So I know one of the things that I know you touched on was the food protection certificate. So that is a course that is specialized specifically for the 5 boroughs of New York City. It's something that anyone, as you mentioned, who runs an operation, you have to have at least one person present on the premise at all times of the operation. So it's something that we actually assist operators in obtaining and understanding the basics of food safety, and also understanding the basics of what is required of you in the event of an inspection. And as we all know, inspections do happen annually for any permitted establishment, if not for some locations a little more frequently than that. Charles, do you want to jump in on anything or keep going?
Keep going. I'll jump in. This filter keep popping up. I don't know why.
Okay.
But what you're saying is exactly correct.
Okay. So the other thing that we also want to talk about is the fact that we also are all certified instructors for ServSafe. So if you run a food service establishment and you do choose to work outside of New York City, it is important to know that a number of jurisdictions, particularly in the outskirts of New York, let's say Long Island, they may require you to have that. Maybe upstate New York may require you to have it. If you choose to work over the river in Jersey, they do require for you to have a ServSafe certificate. So in speaking of such, we are actually also all certified, as I said before, to teach the course, in understanding that, again, for any establishment that is going to be permitted, you do want to make sure you have it. It's also important to know if you do choose to do some sort of maybe like private cooking, or, work as a private chef, or work individually for a person or maybe a family or an event, I should say. You do have to have the basics down pat, because you do never know, you may never know what may happen. I mean, we like to always say, you don't have to, get ready if you stay ready. So it's important to just have that basic understanding of food safety. So in both of those courses, we do provide that training to individuals at what we like to do kind of at a quicker rate, which also is one of the things that we like to market, because it is a quite timely course. And we do understand that time is really money. So if you are able to gain that certification and that knowledge within a really short time frame, that's kind of what we're here to do, is to kind of help people get that information as quick as possible so they can just kind of hit the streets running and work. So.
Okay.
Wow.
So I'm sorry. You can go, Charles.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that being in business is a privilege. It's not a right. And when I say that, I'm coming from the regulatory side. I used to work for the government, the New York City Health Department, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I got my business, and let's make my money."
Right.
It doesn't work like that. Regulatory agencies have to assure the public whatever you're doing is on the up and up, right? You gotta make sure, hey, you're following the laws. You're not gonna get nobody sick, because if something happens to somebody, the first thing they're gonna go to the government. Be like, I got sick again. Is this person? Well, I didn't know they was, they wasn't legit or whatever. So you have to make sure you follow all the rules and regulations. You want to prevent, especially dealing with food, you want to prevent death. I know and it's not nothing to be afraid of. It's just if you're knowledgeable on the things that can help run your establishment, you wouldn't have no problems with the food of the health inspectors or any regulatory agent. You got to run your establishment like a tight ship. The more you train the staff, the better you are. Sometimes what happens is the owner, he doesn't have the food protection. The workers may not have it. So when an inspector comes to the establishment, the workers, they may know how to cook, but they're not certified by any regulatory agency saying that they know certain things about bacteria, food temperatures, how to receive food. It's intricate things that must be done and laid, and that's the most, to me, that's besides making sure you have your worker comp insurance, your liability insurance, your fire safety stuff. Take that food protection course, because it keeps everybody in line. And as an owner of a business, how can you reprimand your staff when they don't have the certification? As an owner, the onus is on you to take it. Of course, you need to take it, because the health department can force you to take it. If you get closed by the health department, if they keep going there, you keep failing your inspection. Like, nobody never has their food protection. Food protection is the fine itself is $600, right?
Wow, that's steep.
Majority of the violations for the health department are steep. Yeah. And then if it's a compliance inspection, it can go up. Like 600 can change to 1,200 for a class that can be taken online. But the problem with people taking it online is that it's a very lengthy process, because you go through the modules, and if you don't get 100 at the end of the quiz, you got to start back over. As an attention span thing, right? Some people could do it. If you could do it, fine. Or you could take it at the Health Academy, which is like a 4-day course. I believe they charge 114, 4 or 5 days. The problem with that is you got to go to the Health City every day. The Health Academy is on the west side, West 100th Street, between Columbus and what? Is it Columbus? Columbus and Broadway?
Yeah.
So it's really inconvenient.
You're going to find parking. I mean, the parking is tough out there. And then, or you could take R.O.A.R, which to me makes sense, because not only do we teach it for the test, we go right into the minutia. We go right into it. I know food safety can be cumbersome, but we go right into it, and we say, hey, this is what you need to remember. Basically, the same person that gave the test trained us. We learn from the best.
So do you guys Do you guys do it online, or do you guys do it in person, or how do you all do the course?
So we do it two ways. We could do it virtually. Right now, the Health Academy is not open, so you have to do everything online anyway.
Right.
So right now we're doing everything online. We're signing people up. The good thing about it is when you go with our company, we contact the Health Academy and say, hey, okay, I want to teach 3 classes in a month. Give me an exam date. They give us exam dates. If you do it on yourself online, they give you an exam date, but it might be 2 months from the time you finished taking it on the computer, right? So
you may forget everything.
So we get these exam dates and they block it in for our students. So but when we teach the course, we try to do like a Monday, Tuesday, and the Wednesday is your exam. It could be the morning or the afternoon, just to keep the material fresh. What we also do in R.O.A.R is we do a weekend review before the class starts to get your mind engaged about food protection. We talk about our experiences. We talk about certain words or numbers that you need to have in your mind that relates to food safety. Now, we teach a class, yes, we say 179. However, that comes with your exam, and that comes with having some of the brightest people teach you the course. However, with the onset of COVID, we have worked on some. We do give coupon codes to lower the price. So instead of paying 179, we have you paying 125, which I think is fair. Because I'm teaching you, because I'm giving you a free review. I'm giving my time as a social, like it's public service. But that's how much I really want the person to pass the exam, because I feel that we are in this circle trying to avoid food outbreaks.
So what's your passage rate?
The passage rates are pretty, like I would say at least 85 to 90. Okay. So what I found out when we start having the reviews, it went up exponentially. For example, it was a young lady. She knew the information. I could tell she was engaged, but I felt that she needed a little bit more than others, right? Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, listen, I'm gonna have something. Oh, somebody's calling. So I'm gonna have something to to try to help you out. And she went from like a 60 all the way to like a 89 or 90.
And what do you need to pass?
You need a 70 to pass.
Okay.
You need 70. It's 50 multiple choice. It's multiple choice.
Okay.
It's multiple choice. But you need a 70 to pass. It's not hard. I think sometimes either you know it or you don't know it. But like I said, you could do it, but you got to be engaged. You got to want to learn about the information. Like I said, it could be tricky or it could be a lot. But the way we teach it, we keep it short, simple, to the point. This is what you need to do.
Okay, and just for understanding, just to be clear, whenever the restaurant's open for business, someone on the premises has to have that certificate, correct?
Yes. The business can be, let's say you open for business at 11 o'clock, right? Mm-hmm. If an inspector comes to your place at 10 o'clock, and let's say you're prepping food, and they see you prepping food, you gotta let them in.
Okay.
You're close to the public, but not the inspector. So once you start boiling water, somebody there must have that certification, the nearest protection certificate. I say this.
Kind of sounds like a lot of. It sounds like it should be more than one person. If you're in a business and
you should never just have one person. That's
absolutely.
You're gonna get yourself in trouble.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's one of those instances where you really do need additional people. And I think maybe people don't understand the importance of having additional certified people within like your, group of employees, because there's no way any one person is going to be there and work every single shift, every single day. It's not possible. So that's why we always encourage people.
I'm sorry. Does it add value to applicants? So let's say you have an applicant that has a certificate versus the applicant that doesn't. I would assume the person who has it is more likely to get hired for something.
Exactly. And the interesting thing is the cards that they now issue for the food protection certificate. I remember years ago when I was working for the health department, they used to be like these huge 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper, and it was a legitimate certificate, which is still valid. And the thing that we probably didn't mention is that, they're good. Once you have it, it's good for a lifetime. So they found that a lot of people were working at multiple restaurants. And unfortunately, I work at restaurants Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. But on Friday, when I work at the other restaurant, I'm the person who is the FPC holder, but I don't physically have it on me. So now they have it in like these little convenient cards, which makes it a lot more, able for people to kind of keep track of them and be able to make themselves more marketable, like you said. So it is of benefit to anyone. A lot of people right now, I'm finding they're changing, different career paths. Maybe they're thinking about adding or diversifying what they do. So it is always good just to have that, extra certificate under your belt, because you never know what the future may hold. I think 2020 has taught us all that.
Yes, 2020 has taught us stay ready. So you don't be
it ready. Did, right?
I think this is one of those things where, people are so tempted to maybe do things, cut corners. And I don't think this is the area that you cut corners in for a lot of reasons. And I know that we see a lot of Instagram cooks, like they have, they're selling food on Instagram. And I always wonder, like, you don't really know the kitchen that they're selling it from, or like you don't know if they have certifications or if the kitchen's clean. Like the food can look good, but it's one thing to be like, okay, the food looks good, but I really want to see that someone looked at that kitchen, or that at least it's to some type of standard.
Well, it's funny that you said that, right? Mm-hmm. Because people, according to Article 81, that's the subsection for the New York City Health Code, right? It's called Article 81.
Okay.
And Article 81 says that you cannot cook from home. You must have a commercial setting, like a commercial kitchen. You can't cook from your private apartment. It says that they're selling to the public must not operate out of their homes. But approved, permitted, or licensed facility regulated by the health department and other local agency. So if you're a private chef, it's advisable to obtain your food protection certificate, correct? But then you have people that rent out kitchens to you that are commercial kitchens. You can rent it out. They already have the permit for the kitchen. And let's say you want to have some kind of special event for like a couple of weeks or something, you just pay that guy to use the commercial kitchen. You don't have to worry about the permit for permitting the establishment. You just have to have your food protection, and then you could do your thing. Because the thing is that private kitchen is inspected by the health department also. So any violations that occurred during the time you're using that kitchen is going to be hit on the owner. That's his.
Yep, I was just telling the client
that's his kitchen.
Yep, I was just telling the client that.
That's his kitchen. So so that person that rent the kitchen that allows you to use that kitchen are going to make sure that you are who you say you are. Because that day you rent, he doesn't know the health department's coming. And then they show up and he comes back, he has $5,000 worth of violations. He's gonna have to eat that.
Yeah.
Unless he put it in maybe the contract, hey, if I get any violations, you got to pay for it.
Yeah, you'll be indemnified.
So that's.
But I want to thank you guys so much for coming on to the web class. And does anyone have any questions before we go, or anyone? Let me see. this off real quick.
Any questions? You can always reach us at our website or Instagram page, Facebook page, ROARFS.com.
And I'm actually going to, because when I record these, I always put them out the next day, or I try to. But I'm going to make sure there's a link to their page and that they have the information so they know where to reach you. Mm-hmm. Guys, this is definitely the time if you're thinking about, doing a flea market or doing a farmer's market. I know a lot of people do the Laurelton farmer's market. And the big thing that stops them, that they don't have the right certifications or the right permits. So this is the time to get, stay ready. They don't have to get ready. And I think he said he had like a special code, like 120, it's 179 and now it's 125 is the code.
Yeah, we have the code.
For the opportunity. So do you guys have any last words before we leave?
No, I don't have nothing. I just want to say, hey, there's no shortcuts in food safety. Fellas. You want to start your business off on the right foot, right? You need to make sure you follow the rules and regulations. And there's nothing wrong with coming and asking people for help. Now, professional help costs money, though. So you want to go to somebody that is well in depth and knowledgeable about what they're doing. You want to know somebody that understand the regulatory agencies, can maybe go there and talk on your behalf on certain matters. If there's, it's great to be an entrepreneur, but at the same time, you got to know what you're doing.
Right.
Especially with food, you got to know what you're doing.
We've all had the four of us have had a very interesting career when it comes to food safety. We've all started regulatory. We've all ended up working private sector. We've done auditing work. So we have a vast knowledge of what the expectations are when it comes to providing people with support for both regulatory and also enforcing it. So we just want to thank you for letting us come on. Again, we do have a class coming up. So if, we're here.
You want to have a class?
Yeah, definitely, there will be a link to their page.
Thank you.
I invite you guys to check out their website. I definitely was on their website a lot. There's a lot of useful information. Michelle, you look just like a sorority sister of mine. Like I almost thought you were her.